Flush the Bully. Another tale by AIHI Books.
Flush the Bully. When a 72-year-old woman becomes the unexpected target of a viral internet show known for humiliating its guests, no one expects her to last more than a minute. But Sophia Brown has lived through more than public embarrassment, and she didn't come to play by Harris Goldstrong's rules. Armed with calm conviction, a quiet smile, and a few surprises in her handbag, Sophia turns the tables on a smug, spotlight-loving host and reminds millions that aging isn't defeat, it's evolution. Flush the Bully is a sharp, empowering tale about dignity, courage, and the strength it takes to stand tall when the world expects you to shrink. Both humorous and heartfelt, this modern fable will leave you cheering for the underdog, and thinking twice about who really holds the power in the room.
Chapter 1. His name is Harris Goldstrong, the clickbait king, the executioner of fake smiles, the self-anointed judge of who deserves the spotlight and who deserves shame. At just 24, Harris reigns over millions across 7 different social media platforms. Some hail him as a genius of raw truth, others call him a sadistic bully, but one fact is undeniable: when Harris sends you an invite, the whole world watches to see if you'll survive. He hosts the internet's most feared live show, 123 Flush. The name is no accident. Harris prides himself on flushing his guests down the drain by the third question, if they last that long. The rules are simple but cruel: guests sign a waiver agreeing to a complete background check, and worse, to be strapped to a live polygraph in full view of millions. Harris does not ask nice questions. He digs up dirt no one knew existed, then makes you confirm it with nowhere to run. Aspiring singers, desperate actors, self-published authors, they all come for a shot at instant fame. Most crawl away in humiliation. He once cornered pop star Lana Ray, catching her in a tangled lie about singing live at her sold-out concert tour. Harris hit her with an audio engineer's testimony and leaked auto-tune files live on air. By question 2, her pulse spiked red on the polygraph. By question 3, she tore off her earpiece, screamed, "I'm done with this circus," and stormed out. Hashtag Lana lip-sync trended for a week. Her record label dropped her 2 days later. Then there was indie director Marco Finch. Harris unearthed receipts for fake festival trophies bought off an online trophy mill. When Marco tried to bluff, Harris rolled a pre-recorded phone call with the trophy maker, and the polygraph needle nearly jumped off the screen. Marco crumbled mid-sentence and fled. His crowdfunding backers demanded refunds before the episode even ended. And the legendary romance queen Celia Hartwood. Harris found passages from her bestsellers plagiarized from an obscure blogger in Montana. He read them aloud, side by side, while her polygraph screamed lie in neon red. Celia fell apart live, begging him to stop, sobbing into her mic. No one really understands why people line up to be destroyed like this. But like those trashy daytime shows about who's the real father, there is something magnetic about watching strangers humiliate themselves for a few precious minutes in front of millions. The chance at going viral is worth more than their secrets, apparently. So when Harris's algorithms flagged a quaint 500-word comment about embracing old age, he didn't even skim it fully. He delighted in the chance to humiliate an old lady for claiming that old age held its own kind of beauty. The author, Mrs. Sophia Brown, 72 years old, no social media footprint, no website, not even a decent profile photo. An absolute nobody. The comment's sudden virality amused him more than anything. He smelled easy prey. And without a second thought, Harris sent the invitation to Mrs. Sophia Brown. Mrs. Sophia Brown nearly deleted the invite, convinced it was spam or a cruel prank. Who on earth would want her on a viral show? She wasn't selling anything, promoting nothing. She found the whole idea distasteful. But her son, Gilbert, read the message, burst out laughing, and said, "Mom, go. You're braver than he is, trust me. What can he do to you that life hasn't already?" She sighed. In 72 years, she had buried a husband, raised 2 boys alone, battled the indignity of being invisible in crowds and treated like fragile glass. What could a cocky boy with a microphone do? She agreed. Harris booked her for Sunday's slot, along with 2 other lightweights, an amateur rapper with a messy past, and a fitness influencer with suspicious brand deals. Insurance guests, to pad the hour once Sophia bolted by question 2. He even drafted a smug hashtag flush the grandma. The day came. What happened next was nothing short of a bastonade, only this time, the blows didn't land where Harris expected. Chapter 2. Mrs. Sophia Brown sat at her kitchen table the night before her scheduled ambush on 1-2-3 Flush, trying to feel anything but foolish. She had never imagined spending her 72nd year plotting how to stand her ground against a young man with a rabid fanbase and a taste for public humiliation. At first, she considered fighting him at his own game. She scoured the internet for any scandalous morsel she could find on Harris Goldstrong. It didn't take long. But the more she read, the clearer it became. There was no dirt to dig up on a man who had already gleefully shoveled it out himself. Harris boasted about being arrested at 16 for stealing candy and electronics from his local Walmart. He called it my first lesson in how to win people's sympathy and still get what I want. He proudly recounted slapping a young man across the cheek for leaning against his limousine to snap a selfie. The kid swung back and grazed Harris's jaw before Harris's bodyguards dragged the boy off. The clip got millions of views, cementing Harris as an untouchable provocateur. It was like dealing with a modern-day Jean-Jacques Rousseau, shamelessly honest about every little sin, turning his flaws into trophies for the mob to admire. Finding dirt on a man who bathes in mud wouldn't work. Sophia exhaled and abandoned that strategy. Fighting fire with fire would only fuel Harris's inferno. So she turned back to her own truth, the thing that sparked this circus in the first place, her simple comment about embracing old age. If she couldn't destroy Harris, maybe she could outshine him with calm conviction. Maybe she could remind a few people watching that wrinkles weren't shameful, that hiding behind Botox and scalpels was often just fear in disguise. If she got 5 minutes of honesty on that stage, it would be worth it. But still, she knew she'd need more than gentle wisdom to stand firm when Harris's smirk turned sharp. So, the day before the broadcast, Sophia wrote a second short post, How to Deal with Bullies. She didn't mention Harris by name, but every word pointed straight at him. She described him as no different from a middle school tormentor lurking by the swings at recess, puffed up on borrowed power, daring smaller kids to push back. Then she asked her unexpected audience, the thousands who'd shared her first post, for advice. How do you face a bully when everyone expects you to cower? Within hours, her little essay went viral, too. Comments flooded in. People told stories of standing up to bosses, gossiping neighbors, cruel classmates. A common refrain emerged, bullies melt when you face them head-on. Even if you lose the fight, they lose their aura of total dominance. But one reply echoed in Sophia's mind above all the others. The problem is, how do you shame a shameless man? She had no answer yet. But tomorrow, live in front of millions of people, she will find out. Chapter 3. Mrs. Sophia Brown stood just off camera, waiting for her name to be called. Even before stepping fully into the light, she could feel the cold wrapping around her ankles, creeping under her sensible cardigan. It wasn't the kind of chill that made a room refreshing, it was the kind that burrowed into your bones and made your body spend precious energy just to stay comfortable. She understood instantly, this was by design. The studio of 1-2-3 Flush was far smaller than it appeared on screen, but every inch of it was engineered for intimidation. Warmth, softness, or anything resembling comfort had no place here. The lights were trained to flatter only one man, Harris Goldstrong. He sat on a throne-like chair at the center of the set, all slick, black leather trimmed with gold studs, raised on a low, polished dais that made him appear half a head taller than any guest who dared face him. A discreet footrest let him lean back like a Roman emperor hearing the pleas of peasants. Overhead, a dedicated spotlight caught the gleam of his freshly styled hair and made his trademark red jacket glow with an expensive, almost blood-like sheen. Cozy warmth for him, subtle discomfort for everyone else. In contrast, the guest seat looked like it had been borrowed from a forgotten church basement, a rough, unfinished wood stool with an awkwardly padded back. It was low enough that Sophia would have to sit upright or look up to maintain eye contact. When she tested it, shifting her weight left and right, it squeaked embarrassingly, loud enough for the microphone to pick up. Harris liked that. A squeaky chair was a fidgeting guest's worst enemy. Coiled around the guest seat like hungry vines were the polygraph cords, thick, rubbery tubes trailing from a massive, ugly machine the size of a dorm fridge. Its console displayed blinking green and red lights, alongside a monitor that would broadcast every tremor in Sophia's heartbeat, every quiver in her voice, in real time to millions. Nearby, 3 of Harris's assistants moved about the set with the blank-eyed focus of well-fed zombies. 2 women in crisp monochrome suits and a man in a tight black turtleneck made last-minute checks, but they didn't look at Sophia directly. They adjusted her microphone, secured the polygraph sensors to her forearm and fingertips, and tugged at the cords with robotic efficiency. No smiles. No small talk. They worked for Harris, not for the human in the squeaky chair. A distant hum of the cameras filled the silence. Somewhere, a stagehand counted down the seconds to broadcast. Sophia's knuckles whitened on the armrests. She felt her pulse jump as the polygraph's tiny suction cups clung tighter. She wondered if Harris could feel her fear through the wires. At that moment, she caught sight of him adjusting his cufflinks, a faint grin already playing at the corner of his mouth. He looked so warm in that blood-red jacket, his body at ease while hers fought to stay above a shiver. This was his hunting ground. The elevated throne. The cold air. The squeaky stool. The blinking truth machine. The mute, loyal assistants. All of it designed for one purpose, to make the prey squirm and run. Sophia Brown took a deep breath. She reminded herself why she had come. I am not here to win, she thought. I am here to stand. A red light above the camera flared to life. Chapter 4. This should have been a thoughtful conversation, a polite exchange of ideas between an elderly woman and a successful young man. The topic. Aging. Whether it is noble to embrace the passage of time, or to wage war against it, erasing every wrinkle, stretching every sagging inch of skin, dyeing every gray hair, chasing younger lovers and fad diets in a desperate attempt to stay forever relevant. But this wasn't that show. Not with Harris Goldstrong. With him, it was never about dialogue. It was about spectacle. It was about the laugh, and it always came at the expense of his guest. Sophia Brown knew it. And she came prepared. She sat already strapped into the machine, her worn hands resting quietly on the unfinished arms of the guest chair. The squeaky thing had betrayed her the moment she sat down, its high-pitched moan drawing instant laughter from the studio audience. Harris's fans loved moments like that. Her posture was calm, but her large handbag, nestled on the floor beside her feet, held more than tissues and lip balm. She had brought a few things. Just in case. The pre-show noise was already working its dark magic. The theme music, a harsh, electric pulse of bass and synth, had been blasting for over 2 minutes now. Lights strobed red and white, spinning across the stage like a nightclub from a bad dream. It was clearly part of the strategy. Disorient the guest, create an atmosphere where thinking became difficult. For Sophia, it was almost laughable. She wasn't here to dance. She was here to hold the line. Then came the voice. Deep, booming, synthetic, blasted into the studio like a call to battle.
1, 2, 3, flush! Let's go!
At the same moment, the back wall lit up with a massive black and white photo of Sophia, her real face, digitally manipulated to emphasize every wrinkle, every line, every shadow under her eyes. Her lips were slightly parted in the image, giving the illusion of confusion or fragility. Harris's team had done their work. The audience howled. And then he appeared. His appearance, or rather reappearance, was meant to confuse the guests, as he had already been seen seated on his throne before the dramatic entrance. Harris Goldstrong, in his signature red jacket, descended a short set of black stairs, and walked toward his throne chair like a man about to accept an award. His smile glowed under the spotlight. Not warm. Triumphant. He took his seat slowly, crossing one leg over the other. He didn't even glance at Sophia, as he adjusted his lapel mic. A stagehand gave a subtle cue. The countdown had hit 0. Cameras were rolling. The show was on the air. Sophia could feel every cord of the polygraph machine pulling slightly against her arm with each breath she took. Cold plastic kissed her fingertips. A red light blinked on the console, heartbeat active, respiration measured. Her body was under surveillance. Her words would be weaponized. Her face was a punchline. But she didn't flinch. She adjusted her posture, squeak, and the crowd chuckled again. Harris leaned toward his mic with an exaggerated eyebrow raise and whispered, just loud enough to be heard. Careful now, Grandma. That chair has a lower tolerance for drama than I do. More laughter. He basked in it like a cat in sunlight. Then he pointed casually to the blown-up photo of her behind him, and dropped his opening line. Embrace old age, he said, savoring the words. There is nothing there to embrace. I see defeat. Disease. Sagging skin, slowing thoughts, people pretending they're wise when really, they're just tired. There's nothing there to embrace. Or to like. A beat passed. Cameras zoomed in on Sophia's calm face. He turned toward her and added with dramatic finality. Your turn, Grandma. Make it count. The show won't be long. Sophia lifted her eyes to meet his. Her voice was soft, measured. I'm 3 times your age, she said plainly. She continued, and I'm sure with appropriate lifestyle changes, you could lose the fat back, yes, the fat back that's stretching your own wrinkles. Your precocious winkles would come blasting out for the world to see, if you can lose your fat. The audience gasped, then erupted into cheers and laughter. She had just called him fat. And he was. Boxy. Thick upper body, tiny legs. Everyone saw it. But no one, not in public, not on his show, had ever said it to his face. And certainly not while he was streaming live, in front of millions. Harris's face twitched. His smile vanished. You didn't need censors to know, his emotions were peaking, sharp and raw. Meanwhile, Sophia remained still, the faintest smile touching her lips. This is my show, Grandma, Harris snapped, his voice rising. A few bleeps followed as he added expletives that had to be censored in real time. Sophia leaned in just slightly. Her tone didn't change. I challenge you to a test, she said. I might be 3 times your age chronologically, but our biological ages might say otherwise. She reached down into her large handbag and pulled out a folded placard. She opened it on her lap, holding it up to the camera. These are my health stats, blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, triglycerides, all within healthy range. Gasps from the audience. Applause. I challenge you to measure your blood pressure and blood sugar level right now and share it with your audience. I dare you. For a split second, Harris was paralyzed. Then rage overtook him. In a fit of humiliation, he hurled his phone at Sophia, a sleek black brick aimed at her chest. But Sophia's reflexes surprised everyone. She caught it, one-handed, clean, effortless, like a movie star catching bullets with her teeth. The crowd went wild. They chanted like she had just won the championship. Harris shouted for his crew to stop the stream, flailing his arms like a drowning man. But the chaos was so thick, his words dissolved in the noise, no one understood. His frustration surged, and his face turned the shade of a ripe tomato. But what came next shattered every rule of TV decorum. In a moment of sheer loss of control, Harris lunged across the platform toward Sophia's throat. He missed. Sophia, no kung fu master, relied on an old habit she had never abandoned, ballet dancing. She spun a tight, effortless pirouette. And as Harris stumbled forward, one of her heels, elegant and deadly, struck his forehead clean. He staggered back, bleeding. His assistants rushed in to hold him down, cameras still rolling. Sophia was whisked away by her assistant and 2 security guards. In the lobby of the hotel, far from the flashing lights and fake laughter, Sophia turned to Natalie and asked calmly, "Did you have a chance to do it?" Natalie held up her phone with a smile. "Oh yes," she said. "I have the whole thing recorded." Chapter 5. The morning after the infamous broadcast, the internet was on fire. Clips of Harris Goldstrong's meltdown, Sophia's pirouette, and the stunned audience chanting her name circulated faster than any planned viral campaign in the show's history. Memes exploded across platforms. Commentators from every angle, pop culture, news, wellness, elder advocacy, weighed in. But Sophia stayed quiet until exactly 9 a.m. the next day. She uploaded Natalie's recording, the full, unedited version, complete with backstage moments, raw audio, and the scenes the production team had desperately tried to cut. Her caption was simple. "When bullies come for you, you don't always get to walk away. Sometimes you have to stand. Here's what really happened on 123 Flush." Then, a few hours later, she followed it up with a video, recorded in her small, sunny kitchen, a blue ceramic mug steaming quietly beside her. No flashy lighting. No makeup team. Just Sophia. She looked into the camera and said, "I didn't go on that show to start a fight. But when someone tries to make a joke out of your dignity, you're allowed to respond. What I did go to say, what I still want to say, is this: embracing old age is not surrender. It's strategy." She leaned slightly closer. When you're no longer trying to look 25, you can start building a life that actually fits who you are. You get to make better plans. A smaller house, not because you've shrunk, but because you've grown out of clutter. A financial plan, not just for the rich, but especially for those of us who were never rich. A clear-eyed look at what you need, what you have, and how to make it work without fear or shame. You can live close to the things that matter, people who love you, doctors you trust, a patch of garden, or a dog that still needs walks. She paused and smiled. And your body? Your body deserves kindness. Not surgeries trying to chase a disappearing standard, but movement, nutrition, rest. Aging is not a flaw. It's your proof that you survived. You earned those lines. Thousands commented within minutes. You're the voice we didn't know we needed. More truth in 5 minutes than a dozen influencers in a year. I'm 38 and trying to freeze time. You just reminded me it's okay to live it instead. Sophia for president. The video kept climbing. Seniors, young professionals, nurses, single moms, retired athletes, even therapists began sharing it. It was no longer just about Harris. It was about reclaiming a stage that had never belonged to people like Sophia. Meanwhile, Harris Goldstrong was reportedly recovering from a personal incident. Rumors swirled about his team negotiating damage control deals. One thing was certain: he had lost control of his narrative. Sophia, however, hadn't asked for control. She had simply told the truth, and the world had finally decided to listen. A last note. The garden was quiet that afternoon. The bees moved lazily between lavender stalks. Sophia sat beneath the old oak with her iPad resting on her lap, and a mug of herbal tea beside her. She wasn't refreshing her views. She wasn't checking comments. She was pruning her inbox, something she still did like tending roses, slowly, carefully, one message at a time. That's when she saw the name. Monica P. Middle school. 7th grade. A face long buried in memory, but still traceable, blonde ponytail, braces, loud laughter that always came right after someone else was made small. The message was short. Sophia. I saw the video. You were amazing. I don't deserve to write you, but I wanted to try anyway. Back in school, I was mean. I was a bully. I didn't understand it then, but I was scared of being invisible. I hurt you. I hurt others. I've spent years reaching out to the people I hurt. You're one of them. I'm sorry. Truly. I hope you'll forgive me. Thank you for standing tall, then and now. Monica. Sophia sat with the tablet resting in her lap, the blue sky reflected faintly on the screen. She closed her eyes and let the silence of the garden settle around her. There were many kinds of justice in life, she had come to learn. Some happened on stages. Others arrived gently, years later, in the form of a few brave words. She smiled and whispered into the breeze. I forgive you. As she typed and sent the same message back to Monica P. Then she set the tablet aside, sipped her tea, and leaned back into the afternoon, at peace.